It's all good. I'd like to call to order this regular scheduled meeting of the Henderson County Board of Education. Today is December the 19th. And Ms. Jo Swanson, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please? Thank you, ma'am.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We need to do the approval of the agenda. Is there any changes or additions to the agenda before we approve it?
I have one.
Yes, Mr. Brad?
Before the meeting tonight, we did our mid-year review.
Yes, sir.
And I would like to add just a brief review of our mid-year review to the agenda.
Okay. Can we add that to the new business? That would be fine. Okay.
Do you need a motion to do that?
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion that under the new business, we add a brief recap of the mid-year review.
Thank you. So noted. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Thank you, Dr. Sugg. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. So now we need, do we need a second motion for the approval of the agenda? Okay, I'll make the motion. We approve the agenda as listed with the following amendment. Do I hear a second? Thank you, Ms. Tracy. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Agenda approved. Student and staff recognition, Ms. Morgana.
Good evening and Merry Christmas to everyone. We're going to start. We have some students we'd like to recognize this evening. The very first one is an East Heights student. Maggie, could you come forward, please? She is, this is Maggie Hollis. She is our governor's scholar for the month of December, and so you went to fiscal court and you met the judge, I assume, and probably the county attorney, Steve Gold, and it probably became Maggie Hollis's day across Henderson County, correct? All right, tell me what was one of your favorite things that you got to do?
I got to go eat at the place of my choice.
And who took you? Your magistrate. Do you remember who your magistrate is? I can't remember. Oh, Mr. Todd, Bruce Todd. Wonderful, wonderful. So did you sit up there all? Well, it's pretty special to get to be judge's scholar because only one student from an elementary school each month gets selected. And it was East Heights, and so the one student from East Heights that was selected was Maggie Hollis. And so she has great leadership. She knows how to make good friends. She solves her problems very well. And I hear you're also a very great student. So let's give Maggie a round of applause and congratulate her. I also see someone in the back that you brought with you. Tell me who's with you tonight to celebrate.
My baby brother Warner and my mom.
Baby brother Warner and mom is a teacher for us also in the Henderson County Schools. And I also see Miss Wilson and two other children I think you know as well. All right, well, congratulations very much. We also have a very special treat tonight. Maggie is going to share some of her talent with us and sing the National Anthem for us tonight. Ready?
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming. that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So proud of you. Thank you, Maggie. Wow. Amazing. Next, we have some students from the high school that we would like to recognize, and we have their sponsor, their teacher, Miss Jessica Grace, if she would come forward, please. These students participated in the USI Case, Business, and Accounting competition. And I'll have the students come up as I name them. I'm going to let Miss Grace tell you a little bit about what the competition was all about. First place individual winner for a $1,000 scholarship was awarded to Henderson County Schools to Shay Bridges. Come on up, Shay. Congratulations. Fourth place team winners, Shay Bridges, Jackson Hogg, and Cody Newman. There was, I guess, a team maybe that worked. Second team, Connor Combs, Katie Bickers, Logan Cherry, Christy Sigler, and Elizabeth Blanford. If any of those students are present, please come forward. And Joel Dosmick competed in the individual competition. So we have medals for all the students, and as I'm putting medals on them, why don't you tell us a little bit about what they had to do, Miss Grace?
On November the 5th, which was a Saturday, these students volunteered to compete in the first annual accounting competition at USI, which was hosted by their Accounting Alumni Association, sponsored by the Romaine Auto Group and United Leasing. And actually, Ron Romaine came and spoke to us at lunch, which was a really nice addition to the day. They worked for about a month and had mentors that were assigned to them that were graduates of USI on a competition where, if I believe right, you were a baseball team, a professional baseball team, and they had to come up with ways to increase revenue given their financial statements and those types of things. And then they presented in front of a panel of judges. And then Shay's group made the cut, and then they went in front and did a on-the-spot competition, and Katie actually filled in for those and on that group as well. I was very proud of them. It was the first annual one, and we're going to go back next year, I'm sure, and it was a great to see these kids volunteer to compete and do such a good job for Henderson County, or representing Henderson County.
Thank you so much. And let's give Miss Grace a round of applause. Obviously, if the students were volunteering to be there on a Saturday, someone else had to and show leadership and working with students of the opportunity. So thank you so much for your leadership. And here are medals for the other students that weren't able to attend. Oh, like at their job? Wonderful. All right, why don't y'all scoot in? We'll get a picture together. Please, yes, they should introduce. Shay, come on back up, and Katie, and then come on back up and introduce. Absolutely. How could I forget the family? Shay, tell us who's with you.
We got my grandparents, which are the two right there, and then
Please stand. Sure.
And then next to my grandpa is my mother.
Wonderful.
And then my mother's friend, Paul.
Awesome. Thank you all so much for being a part of his work. All right, Shay, that was Shay. Tell me who's with you.
Okay, my mom, Teresa, is here tonight.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
My mom, Kelly.
Kelly, please stand. Thank you, ladies, so much. Appreciate it. Thank you, Miss Williams, for reminding me. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Moving on to public participation and recognition of guests. If anyone else wishes to speak to the board this evening, I will ask you to fill out a paper and bring it to me. Right now, I have Mr. Tom Alves who wants to speak to the board, please.
Particularly nice. Thank you, sir. Can everybody hear me now? Thank you. Okay. This poem, from what I found in research, was copied by our first president, George Washington, from a British publication. On Christmas Day by Ellen Bailey. Jesus was born on Christmas Day in a manger on a bed of hay. His arrival was heralded by a shining star that could be seen both near and far. He came in peace and brought us his love. He was a gift from heaven above. Let us celebrate his arrival on this day, for he came to show us the way to eternal bliss and everlasting joy for every man and woman, girl and boy. Let us ring bells and sing together as a choir. Let us make joyful noise everywhere. Let us spread good tidings at home and away. Let us glorify him on this Christmas day. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tom, and Merry Christmas. We appreciate those kind words. Thank you. Also listed on who would like to address the board. She's a board member, but she also would like to speak to all of us, is Dr. Sally Sugg.
I kind of step out of my role as a board member because I'm also a community member, and I would just like to share something as both community and also as a board member. We are ending our year with 2 board members that are rolling off of the board, and we'll be gaining 2 new members. And I just thought we'd be remiss if I didn't put what was on my heart into words, and that is that I have found Ms. Jennifer Keach and Mr. Brad Staten to be 2 of the most professional and hardworking people that I have seen work toward community involvement, not only on this board, but in other areas of their life. I feel like we have the right people on the board, from Tracy all the way down to where I sit. And so I just wanted to say we're all going to miss the 2 of you. And in each one of your roles outside of this board, you've been able to bring some unique perspective to us as educators and board members. Brad, with his business sense and his fine detail with accounting and looking at financial oversight, he has brought up some excellent points that all of us have missed in his short time on the board, and I know we're going to miss that. And Jennifer as well, her experience with working with personnel and communication and best business practices, I think both of them have made us a much better board for the experience that they've brought to us, and we're really going to miss you all.
Stay for a second. We're going to follow up along those lines. The Board of Education has created a couple of service and dedication plaques that we would like to give to Mr. Brad Staten and to Ms. Jennifer Keach. So if you all would come forward, please. Oh, you got a picture, yes. Thank you. And in celebration, that's what the cookies and the lemonade are for, is to celebrate these 2 fine school board members that we have had the pleasure of having on our board, as Dr. Sugg said, and will be totally missed. So y'all help yourself, and thank you very much for your service.
And of course, I can only echo the words that were so eloquently sent by Dr. Sugg and Lisa, but just to say on a personal note to Jennifer and to Brad that the administration and even the students obviously have benefited by your leadership on the board and your advisement, and we appreciate your work. It is time consuming, and it takes a lot of effort and commitment, and it's very much appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to approving the minutes from the prior meeting, and the meeting minutes are from our council, the last night of our Council of Councils. If everyone had a chance to review those, are there any changes or additions? Hearing none, I'll look for a motion to approve the minutes as listed. Thank you, Ms. Tracy. I'll second those. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Minutes approved. Committee reports. Budget Committee. Mr. Steve Steiner and Ms. Cindy Cloutier.
The Budget Committee met on November the 30th. We had 8 of our 15 members attend. I did a presentation on the audit report for FY16, and Steve and Morgana spoke about the LPC committee process and the facilities. That led to a great deal of discussion about facilities. We asked the committee to complete an assignment. We asked them to go back to their school and have each staff member give us some input to answer 2 questions. One of those questions was, what areas do you feel save, and what areas of need or areas that you feel like you can't live without? We went ahead and scheduled our next meeting for February the 1st and asked them to bring back that input so that we could chart the ideas to see if and how we could work those into future budgets. Steve, is there anything you want to add? Any questions? Or?
Members, are there any questions regarding that committee?
Ms. Baird,
Yes, ma'am.
I know Brad has served on the Budget Committee, and with his rolling off, I'd like to volunteer to take his place if you're looking for someone to do that.
That would be fine. Any of the board members, any discussion regarding that? Do we need a motion for that, to put her on that committee? Okay, put it into the record. Okay. I'll make the motion that we have Dr. Sally Sugg to be on the Budget Committee for the 2017 year, beginning January 1.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Jennifer. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. You're off and you're on. Thank you all. And thank you, Brad, for your service. We appreciate for your service to that committee. Anything else, Ms. Cindy? Nope? Cool. Thank you. Moving on to reports, architecture and construction report. Mr. Craig Thomas. Hey, Craig.
Good evening. I think in front of you all, there's been a packet sent out that has some change orders for the roof project that was undertaken by Preferred Construction. There were 3 items that came up during the process. One was at Country Heights, one was at East Heights, and there was a major issue at South Middle School. The one at Country Heights was some, excuse me, I'm wearing them, I'm just not using them. County High was a section over the gym roof where they needed to do some more metal trim than what was anticipated, roughly $1,500 total. At East Heights, there were 2 items. One was to replace some Tectum roof deck. I'm not sure if y'all know what Tectum roof deck is, but when you're standing on the ground and you look up, it sort of looks like spaghetti board, if you will. It's usually white in color and it's real stringy. Once it gets wet, it has a tendency to be able to handle that moisture, but over time it will start to fail. And so when they took the roof membrane off, they found damaged roof deck, and obviously it needs to be replaced, and that's the time to do it. That piece was just over $2,500, and then we had them do 4 replacement drains for just over $1,500. Yes. Then at South Middle School, they were doing that re-roofing during your fall break, and when they started to tear off that roof, they found a large quantity of metal roof deck that had rusted out, and there were some safety issues about them potentially falling through the roof. They made contact with us. We directed them to go ahead and remove it. I'm not sure if Billy or Donnie were able to get out there that week to look at it, but it was a large quantity of metal roof deck that needed to be replaced, and they replaced that. And unfortunately, because of the vast area of it, it was a very expensive piece. So you're looking at a change order for all these items of just over $52,000. Please keep in mind when you did the project, you have a contingency in excess of $100,000 on the project. So the contingency money is there to pay for this work.
I just have one quick question, not a big question. The $5.85 a square foot that they charged us, in your opinion, is that a fair price? Is that what would have been charged had they quoted that originally?
Well, the contract that you have is a state price contract, and actually the number they could have used is about twice that. And so they actually used a lower number because the way their contract was written, it really wasn't totally applicable. So it is a relatively good number in relationship to the type of contract this project was done under. So it is a fair number. And all these numbers are typically based upon that.
Any other questions, board members, regarding the change order? Okay. We do need to get a motion to approve the change order for the South Middle School project as stated by Mr. Craig Thomas. Do I hear a motion to approve that change order? Thank you, Ms. Jennifer. I'll second that. All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. Change order for that one accepted. Number 2 is the sole issues for Scottsville. Are you working on that, Craig, or Mr. John?
I do.
Okay.
I don't believe Mr. Hagan could be here tonight, so I'll try to address it. I believe at your last board meeting, he did bring this to your all's attention. There were 2 areas in which they found during the proof roll, which were soft and needed to be replaced. And they went in and they have done that work. They removed a little over 1,000 cubic yards of material. So to give you an idea how big that is, it's a footprint of just under 10,000 square feet, 9,523 square feet, roughly 3 feet deep. So it's a pretty big area when you combine the 2 pieces. So you have to remove the material. Then we have to go back with fill material. In this type of year, we typically use engineered fill, which for lack of a better term would be gravel, so you'd understand what it is. So you have to remove the material. We do have unit prices in the contract that we took on the day of bidding of $8 a cubic yard to remove it. And when you put it back, you're putting it back in as tons, not as cubic yards. So you have to do the math on that. But you put back just under 1,500 tons of material at $24.75 a ton. So the total piece is just over $45,000. 45,346.70. Now, we had our progress meeting today. They are going to start on the foundations this week. And so as they dig down, there'll be special inspections on the bottom where the footings are poured to make sure that we've got good material there. And so they've done the proof roll. This was identified by the proof roll. The building pad's been built. But due to the time of year it is, we got a lot of moisture, and we want to make sure that we're putting the footings on solid ground. So we're continuing to move through that process.
Board members, any questions or comments regarding that? This is unfortunate we found it. However, this was kind of expected when we first started this, because there was information in the original that we knew there was going to be some soil that was going to have to be removed. I'll look for a motion to approve that change order as listed. Thank you, Dr. Sugg. I'll second that. All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carried.
If I could talk a little more about Spotsville.
Sure.
We are in the process of trying to talk to the contractors to potentially continue to reduce the cost of the project. I've been working with the roof contractor, and in front of me, I've got a potential change of just over $100,000, which will be a credit back to the school board. We are working with the Department of Housing, Building, Construction to get them to approve this change. Due to the type of construction that we're using, this is putting some wood up there on the roof deck. It's not the roof deck, it's just a nail bed, and we need them to sign off on it for us to be able to do this. I feel confident they will. Unfortunately, I can never get them and they can never get me, so we're going back and forth, and we hope to be able to get this resolved so that next month I can bring you some good news on a credit. So just wanted to bring that to your attention.
Thank you. We appreciate your good work in that direction. We asked you to do that when we first started on this project, and we appreciate you continuing to do that. Anything else?
I think that takes care of
All your actions you needed? Okay. Moving on to revised BG1 for the Spotsville School. Ms. Cindy Cloutier.
One form in your packet showing what the BG looked like after the bond sale. If you look at the right-hand side of the BG1, you'll see the change in the SFCC portion and the local portion. The SFCC pays a set amount of debt service on our bonds due to our 3 offers of assistance that we have. They will pay $355,604 for the term of the bond. So why this has changed is because Joe Nance makes a projection of the interest rates to determine the amount that the bonds will be on the initial form for the SFCC portion. It's hard to say. And once they actually sell the bonds and know the exact interest rates, they then know the actual amount of bonds the $355,000 will pay for. So if the rates come in better than our estimated rate, the SFCC portion will be more. And because the rates did come in more lower.
Sorry, I was agreeing. I said that loud. I didn't mean to.
Sorry, I got distracted. Squirrel. The SFCC portion of the bonds would be more, and that's why it's $5,357,784 as opposed to the $5 million, which is good news to us because that means they'll be paying a larger portion and a local portion will be less. On the left-hand side, the change, we were able to move $199,278 into the equipment and furnishings, and we were able to do this because the bond discount that they budget is a maximum of 2%. And because the bids, the underwriter's bond discount came in less, the winning bid came in less than that, the interest rate bid and the discount taken determines the total interest paid on the bonds. And since the winner didn't bid the whole 2%, we were able to move that difference down into equipment and furnishings where we didn't have anything previously budgeted. So that was good news too. And that didn't change the bottom line of the BG1. Any questions on that? Kind of confusing.
Any questions, comments? That's all great news. So for our general public who's listening out there in video land, that means that the government is giving us more money to help with this project, which leaves more money from our nickel and our building fund to go towards other schools. And also because we got a cheaper rate, we are now able to put that money back into equipment and furnishings, which we hadn't even started to tackle before. Did I get that on a layman's term? Cool. That is all great news. And if they get this roof situation fixed and we've got another $100,000, we'll be doing good. Okay, I need a motion to approve this final. We don't need a motion to approve this one? Because she didn't change it. I was on a roll. Okay.
still don't have to approve it because it's revised.
Okay. All right, moving on to Title I and Title II. Ms. Jo?
First, I'll go over Title I. So all of this first information will be about Title I. As you probably remember from reports in the past, the purpose of Title I, federal allocation, is to service our students who are at risk as determined by one or more criteria. Doesn't always mean they're at risk of academic failure. It's just the potential there for academic failure. And that's how actually that we qualify. Our district allocation for Title I this year is $1,813,295. That was just readjusted. They give us a preliminary allocation somewhere along the month of July, and then it's readjusted along the month of October, November. So the readjustment did cause and come in at a $30,000 decrease. So the budget had to be readjusted for that reason. Most of our schools use their Title I allocation to provide salaries for additional interventionists for their students to be served who are in their RTI, Response to Intervention program. Those are students who first qualify by our MAP scores or some other data to be in need of additional small group attention or additional instruction, even in addition to their regular classroom. The schools that use their Title I funds for full-time interventionists are Chandler, Bengate, Cairo, East Heights. The high school funds partially one interventionist from Title I funds, Jefferson, North Middle School, and South Middle School. 3 of our schools use Title I funds for some support to their students and families of social work positions. That would be South Heights, Jefferson, and a partial salary at Thelma B. Johnson. The other schools, and including the ones that use Title I funds for full-time positions, also hire part-time interventionists, which is actually quite a good deal. Those are retired, certified, former elementary teachers, and at the rate of $21 an hour. So that's quite a budget-stretching method of using that. And most of them find interventionists that stick with them and come back year after year. So it's quite a money-saving deal. We have all of our schools use their Title I's to hire at least some part-time people. Spotsville does all of their intervention through part-time, and Niagara does as well. Schools use their Title I funds in addition to providing those salaries to pay for professional development, additional professional development that their state professional development money does not pay for, and professional development materials for additional teacher training. They also buy materials that SBDM does not provide out of those funds. They may provide travel and registration for professional development even out of district. Many of their schools also use Title I funds to provide extra technology for their students. The district also has a portion of the federal Title I allocation, and we use those funds to pay for roughly 35% of the instructional coaches' salaries. It also pays for a portion of the district Title I coordinator, that would be me, a portion of that, and a portion of the district coordinator's administrative assistant. That would be my administrative assistant. Just a portion. The PD expenses, district Title I funds also pay for professional development expenses to cover professional development that the district plans and implements, and also travel costs for out-of-district professional development and consultants for professional development. Each school receives, in addition to those funds, an additional amount of $1,250 for conducting parent involvement activities. This is required as part of the federal law, such as math and reading nights or writing nights, science nights. The purpose of those nights is to help the parent gain understanding and knowledge in how to help their child in achievement. The only private school that requests funds is Holy Name School here in Henderson, although every
February, we are required by law to distribute to all private schools in our area, including homeschools, an opportunity for them to participate to receive a portion of those funds too. During the fall, I conducted a round of all schools to meet with their leadership teams regarding pretty extensive conversations on their RTI programs, their schedules, their identification methods, and their progress monitoring tools. Many of our schools are participating currently in an ongoing study of best practices of RTI, led by Mike Matos, a Solution Tree national presenter. This is being conducted through GREC for the purpose of studying an in-depth study of RTI. Do you have any questions about Title I? And I listed, there you see the document for sheer transparency, exactly how our schools are allocated. That's a formula that is guided by federal and state guidelines. No questions about that? Okay. Now this is about Title II, also federal funds. Title II is given to public school districts for the purpose of providing professional development to its teaching staff. Schools in our district do not receive an individual allocation of Title II, although they can. The district, for years, our district has funded the instructional coach positions in part with Title II funds added to the part that we also provide with Title I. It's at roughly 35% out of Title II. Their salaries are paid for at roughly 35% out of Title II funds. 35%. With Title I being 35% as well, then the general fund kicks in roughly 30% of the instructional coach's salary cost. That uses all but about $50,000 of the Title II money. Our total allocation this year is $324,703, and that was just also allocated with an increase of about $30,000. So what we lost in Title I, we gained in Title II. It was pretty much a wash. The $50,000 that this district does retain, which is not part of the instructional coach salary, is used for professional development cost. The guidelines for this money are very strict. It must be for professional development and professional development materials, both in district and out of district. Some of the conferences that we have paid for or the professional development that we have paid for in the last 12 months include professional learning communities conferences that several schools have sent teams, small teams of teachers, roughly 2 or 3, maybe 4. A National Reading, Recovery, and Literacy Conference held in Columbus, Ohio last February. Some math and focus district cost to pay for teachers when they put in extra time on working in math and focus. Christina Smeckens Literacy Conferences, a National Title I Conference, which was very local. It was pretty close. It's about as close as it ever gets to us in Nashville. We've paid for a consultant, Rich Tenet, in the last 12 months, some costs there. We've paid for a consultant such as Dr. Malcolm Smith, who is the developer of Courage to Care, which is a program on compassion and empathy training that our middle schools are now participating in. And we will also pay to send some of our middle school guidance counselors to a Courage to Care workshop, which will be in Hardin County in January or February. Do you have any questions?
Joe, do you see any of the changes that are coming about by ESSA affecting Title I or Title II?
I think that, of course, I think they will. It's still, the directions are still pretty sketchy and kind of iffy, so I don't really have any
Great information at this point.
No.
Okay, I understand. Dr. So, did you have a question?
Yeah, I would just like for you, if you might, to elaborate on what we contracted with Rich. I've heard him pronounce it Tenek. What are we contracting with him for?
Well, it was just one visit within the last 12 months. He came in and worked with some of our administrators for some specific coaching. I think he was here a couple of days.
Not working with teachers at all.
No. administrators.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
And Mr. Tanek had been here in years past when we did some major changeover when Dr. Ritchie was superintendent and brought about a lot of change here in the Henderson County School District. So bringing him back to kind of do a review is probably a good idea. Becomes everyone's, to kind of go over.
Exactly why we asked him to come back, and we had shifted some principals, and he did a lot of coaching with principals when he was here before, and just be the outsider looking in at us and giving us some feedback. It was actually probably almost a year ago. I think it was January or February of last year when he visited our district. But don't intend to use him much more, but just do a little spot check for us.
That's fine. Any other questions or comments, board members? Thank you, Ms. Joe. Gifted and talented, Ms. Joe and Ms. Nicole.
Yes, and I just want to introduce Nicole Newland, who is our Gifted and Talented District Coordinator. She's also a teacher and Gifted and Talented this year. So Nicole has prepared this part of the presentation.
It's good to be here with you all. Just a little update about what's going on in the world of Gifted and Talented, and just some program highlights about what's going on from the beginning of school till now. We have 1,248 total gifted and talented and primary talent pool students in our district, 497 at the high school, 346 at both middle schools, 227 at the elementary schools, 178 are primary talent pool students. Our staff is made up of 4 teachers. We have 1 GT specialist who provides GT services at 5 elementary schools. The 5 schools that have larger populations of gifted and talented students, and she's there 1 day per week at each school, so each school a day a week. There's a GT specialist providing GT services at Henderson County High School, which this is new. Half of the time is spent doing gifted and talented things, and half of his time is spent working in the soon-to-be School of Fine Arts. So that's an exciting change. We have a gifted and talented specialist providing gifted services at North Middle School and South Middle School using an elective format, which is new this year. We've had that before, then we've gone back to workshops. Now we're back trying the elective method. She teaches in the morning at North and in the afternoon at South. And then there's a GT specialist, this is me, serving as the coordinator, and I also provide GT services at 3 of the elementary schools who have smaller numbers of gifted and talented students, and then I also teach at South in the afternoons. So in the elementary school, we have primary talent pool I mentioned earlier. Those are the students who are demonstrate potential giftedness, and we look at those students and try to develop their talent while they're in their primary years, and then we formally identify them at the end of 3rd grade when they are leaving primary. They're in what we call gifted strand classrooms, which means it's a cluster of gifted kids, but the rest of the class is still heterogeneously mixed, and they receive differentiated instruction within their classroom. And then they're also pulled out every other week for pull-out lessons with the gifted specialists to do different things, trying to always focus on higher level thinking skills, above level, deeper thinking, problem solving, deductive reasoning, logic, those types of things. In the 4th and 5th grade, those students are formally identified as gifted and talented, and we kind of use a workshop method because we're not there every day. So we see our non-cognitive groups, which that's leadership, performing arts, and creativity. We see them for different periods throughout the year. So from August to October, we saw our elementary leadership kids. And then from October, and we're in the middle of this right now, October to February, we'll see our drama students. And then February to May, we see our kids gifted in creativity in a pull-out format outside of their classroom. We also had art workshops at Audubon with our elementary art kids. They have 3 different days of art instruction with art teachers at Audubon. And we had our art expo on December 6th at Audubon. It was very nice, all decorated for Christmas. We had a nice little showing. And then we are currently in the middle of our drama classes, like I said, and we're rehearsing for our annual Farm Follies production, which will be February 23rd, 2017. I've lost track of how many this is, but it's a lot. I think 7, 8. Students who are gifted in a cognitive area, which would be like general intellectual, reading, math, they're grouped in gifted strands like primary talent pool students are, and they receive within their classroom differentiated learning experiences in their regular classroom, but they also participate in enrichment instruction in a pull-out setting with the GT specialists in their school. The elementary students who are 4th and 5th grade gifted were also recognized for those qualifying for the Duke Talent Identification Program. We have managed to continue our academic challenge meets through cooperation with the instructional coaches. The instructional coaches have taken on the written assessment portion of our academic meets. They grade them, report them, keep track of all the individual scores from the written assessment, and then the gifted staff has been facilitating the quick recall meets. And then Ms. Swanson organizes the transportation. It's kind of a team effort. So we've been able to maintain that, even though we've lost a person within our staff. So that's been working nicely. A nice addition for our elementary art kids. At one of their art lessons, they created hummingbirds based on John James Audubon's famous hummingbird painting in the museum. And they made it on these raw canvases. It was really neat. Kim had them sewn all together to form a quilt, and Senator Ridley has seen this and wanted to take it to Frankfurt, and it is going to be displayed in the Frankfurt Capitol, and our art kids, I think, are going to get to go on a field trip to see it, and the other arts that hang, the art pieces that hang in the Capitol building as well, but they get to, I think they're going to get to participate in watch a legislative session. So it's going to be a neat experience for them to get to see their artwork hanging somewhere really big like the Capitol. So that's something we're planning for. That'll be in the spring, but we're hoping to make that field trip happen. Middle school, we, as I said earlier, we have been working with an elective format. So we have a gifted elective that 6th, 7th, and 8th grade students can take based on their areas. And it's for non-cognitive areas because the cognitive students are enrolled in either advanced classes, or they can get, and I'll call it dual credit, even though it's not high school at the same time as college credit. I consider it dual credit because they're in a middle school class, but they're getting high school credit. So we have a lot of kids taking English 1 in middle school. We have a lot of kids taking math, either 1 grade level or 2 grade levels above, and they're getting high school credit for that. So all of our academically gifted kids, for the most part, are in advanced classes. But for the non-cognitive kids, they are able to take a gifted elective. So the first marking period were our GT creativity students, and they did a variety of things over the 9 weeks. We did a lot of writing. We did our Farm Follies writing contest. We did a lot of creative thinking. We did a lot of STEM challenges where they had to come up with scientific problem solving. And so that was a neat experience, something different. Our drama elective is coming to a close tomorrow. We've been doing lots of different drama and acting activities for them. Leadership will be the 3rd and the 4th 9 weeks because we have a larger number of students. So they won't get it twice. It'll just be because we have so many students. And then we also identified and recognized the 7th grade students qualifying for the Duke Talent Identification Program. We are trying to collaborate with the art students because our art is a little different in the past. We've always pulled them out to do days of art lessons similar to the way we did elementary. But with us teaching in the elective format, there's not quite as much time. So we are trying to work with those art teachers to provide them with resources that they may need to do some differentiated independent art projects within the art classes for those art kids that are our gifted art kids. But we also have planned on doing 4 days of pull-out art classes as well for the middle school kids. So we're going to do 2 days for 6th and 7th grade, 2 days for 8th grade, and take them for art classes as well. And then we'll have an art expo in the spring to showcase all of the middle school kids' artwork. Another thing we've been trying to do, especially with our 8th graders, but also with 7th too, is promote the opportunities that SOFA is going to create for our kids that are getting ready to go to the high school. We're trying to promote that and talk to them about how they apply, showing them what they can do, what all the requirements are, so they're prepared to know about this opportunity that they're going to have next year. Another thing Gifted is working on, or I am a part of, is the district spelling bee. We'll be having that January 27th. And I didn't say this for elementary, but they have as well. All gifted student service plans have been completed. If they're elementary, they've been sent home. Parents have seen them. For middle school and high school, they've all been completed, and they're in the student's ILP. We're in the works of how to plan to teach parents how to access that. We're going to have to get with guidance counselors and individual schools to talk about when we can kind of all do that at the same time. And at the high school, Mr. McManus is our new gifted and talented teacher at the high school. He spends half his day working in the fine arts department, but he also spends half of his day doing GT things. He has updated all GT rosters. He's done all the GSSPs. He's met with all the teachers who have our gifted and talented students. He's doing a great job. He's come up with a way, and I guess I didn't know this, but I thought everybody could see that a gifted student is a gifted student because of the gifted tab, and you don't. And he added a gifted and talented flag for every student at the high school, so every classroom teacher, every administrator, anybody working with those students automatically knows. Even though we give them lists, that doesn't always stay right in front of you. But if you see that gifted and talented flag, automatically it's noticed. And we're in the process of doing this at the middle school level as well. He has also been working on a process to identify students in the area of music, which has been a goal of ours for gifted and talented for a long time. But now with SOFA coming, it's going to be double duty. It's going to be an identification tool for students gifted in music, but also for entrance into SOFA. So he's been working on that. The draft is complete, and I think he's getting ready to work with administrators and the other SOFA teachers to kind of iron out the fine points. He's planning on some in-school and out-of-school enrichment activities for other areas of giftedness, not just the fine arts. And then he's also obviously going to be a part of the participation of auditioning the kids at the high school or entering the high school for SOFA. So that's gifted in a nutshell. Sorry if I talked fast. Does anybody have any questions?
Glad we saved that program. There's a lot going on there.
Sorry?
I said I'm glad we still have teachers for that program because we have a lot going on there.
We do have a lot. Thank you.
That's great.
I don't have a question, just a comment. And I particularly appreciate the work that's going on at the high school. I think that was something that we had asked from Gifted and Talented. So I appreciate that. And I love hearing the report about your area. It's always exciting.
Thank you. We think it's fun.
Nicole, I'd also like to mention if you would also share with Dana and Jill that I know transitioning how we have into our new program, a new schedule, a new way of looking at servicing gifted has sometimes been challenging early on, but you three ladies have really settled in, and the amount of activities and the quality of the program is very much appreciated. And I know you take great leadership in keeping Jill and Dana on track and everyone's schedule. And so it's much noted and appreciated. And please tell the ladies that through the transition, there are a lot of great things happening for kids.
I will. Thank you. That was one of our main things, that we were being reorganized and we had to figure out a new way to do things, but we were determined that this was going to be as little interruption of our regular program as possible. So.
I'll sentiment that too, that we appreciate it. We knew that was going to be a change, that we talked about it with part of our budget last year. We did want to keep it going forward. We just had to figure out a different way to do it. And y'all ladies have figured out a different way to do it. So thank you. Thank you. Moving on to new business. The first item on there is to approve some bid recommendations. Ms. Cindy Cloutier?
You have the bid recommendations in your packet. I wanted to pull these out because of the workers' comp bid. I did include some information in your packet last week so that you would be aware that the company that we're recommending is Kentucky Retail Federation, which is a self-insurance fund. There was a significant price difference between them and the next lowest bidder, over $27,000. So I just want everybody to feel comfortable with this recommendation. So I've asked Mike Hazelwood to attend the meeting tonight so he could answer any questions that you may have regarding this company.
Mike, he's back there, yeah. Cindy, this is a change from the service provider we had in the past, correct?
Probably the same EM4.
We still had EM4, but it was through a different company. So it was through Kimmy before. Okay, yes. Yes, Mike.
We bid scale. Kentucky Retail Federation is been in business for about 22 years, and they're a pretty stable organization. We use them for a number of clients, and they write other school boards in the state. And I believe that was included in your packet. So we're happy to answer any questions.
board members, anyone have a question regarding the change? It's definitely an improvement on the money side. So, any other questions? Okay, so I look for a motion to approve the bid recommendations. Do we need to discuss the refuge pickup? Just do both of those, okay. Approve the bid recommendations as listed by Ms. Cindy Crotier.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Brad. Do I hear a second? Thank you, Ms. Jennifer. All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. Bid recommendations approved. Thank you. The first reading of the 2017-2018 school calendar. Mr. Steve?
Ma'am, I chose to do things a little different this year to kind of get a little bit more input from other folks. And instead of just taking a smaller group of administrators to look at the calendar or a small committee, I sent out on the Everyone tab to all our staff each of the 3 calendars that you see attached and asked them to vote on which one they feel like would be best. And wanted to present that to you this evening for next year's calendar. This will be the second year that we've you approved 2 years ago to have fall break at a certain time and spring break at a certain time, which has been helpful for a lot of people that have called in and asked about those things to keep that consistent. This will be the last year of that. I didn't ask to go any further with that past this next year because I didn't really know what would happen state legislature wise with the potential to move school back to September start with non-traditional days and information. So I just kind of put that on hold for now and move forward. But out of the recommendations that came back or out of the school calendar survey that we sent out, the numbers there are leaning towards the traditional with spring days, which is a second calendar type that you see in your packet. So based on those results, that's the calendar I would suggest that we approve with a 42% return of that's when over 500 people sent back responses to that. So this does only look at student days. This is not PD days, anything like that. We'll add to it. But the usually what people want to know is when school's going to start and when school's going to end and when our breaks are. And so I wanted to get that to you as soon as possible. Been watching the different districts from around us and from around the state, and many of them are going with similar dates as what we have. Or what I'm suggesting. So be my recommendation to move forward with the traditional with spring days. If you have any questions, I can answer any of those, or I'll try to.
I have a question.
Sure.
In March, the 8th and 9th, is that Easter or what is that holiday?
There is no holiday.
Okay.
What I heard from our staff and really some parents was we go so long when we come back. Every month there seems to be a break. Every month there seems to be starting in August and going the way through. And when we started in January, we always have January the 15th as a day that we miss or the day that we're out. And then it seems like we go for a long distance of time until spring break. And so many times in the past, we may miss for snow or whatever else, but that's a taxing time for students and also for teachers. So I suggested we put some days in there and see if that was of interest to them, just as a break for all involved, to be honest.
Can I add one thing in there, Mr.
Sure.
Steiner? As we were looking at staff absences and looking at the data of certified and classified, we went month by month,
Yeah.
and we looked to see when and how our staff were missing the very most. August, September, October, November, December. It would vary from the number of days that were in school, but predominantly it was about the same. The largest spike of staff absences was in the month of March, double the amount of any other month to be quite honest. Now, some of that could be flu and illness and sick, and kids at home, flu and sick and illness also. But as Mr. Steiner just said, there is a trend of once we get past Martin Luther King Jr. Day, there is not a break other than a snow day here or there or sporadic. And so we wondered if focusing 2 days, kind of in the middle of March, no PD, no makeup, just days off, would that, so that was a piece of the conversation as well. So I wanted to share that.
Can I ask a question just as a parent looking at the calendar? December 18th and 19th?
Yes.
I noticed on none of the 3 iterations did it include considering having those days off as well?
18th and 19th.
The 18th and 19th?
Yes.
Has that been discussed? Because it really would be kind of nice if we could get those 2 days off.
In the past, previous boards have not liked that idea because one of the comments that we get from parents, or a lot of times we get from parents, is, okay, they're out this long before Christmas, what do we do with them? And so what we've tried to do is kind of split that difference and say, if there is like Christmas is on the traditional with spring break, and next year be on a Monday, you've got that many travel days to get wherever you need to go. And so we've just kind of split that. In the last year, I think this is the first year we've done the 2 days, gone over the 2 days, and we've had some pretty good attendance rates. Actually, 97% was today, and we assume that'll be that way tomorrow. And it's worked well for our high school doing exams and that kind of thing these 2 days as well. So 97% was where we were at today. So that's, to be honest, it's pretty high right now. So we're pretty pleased with it. But you do have travel days in between, and that's the only reason we went with that.
Any other comments? So you need a approval for this?
Need approval first reading, and then come back in the second reading, and more than likely I'll be able to have a chance to get with leadership team and plug in our professional development days between now and then, if that's okay. We'll put that together as a second reading, and you'll see all the professional development, everything on there.
All knowing that if the state determines legally we have to change this calendar, we will have to change this calendar.
Yes, and there's been that theory out there that they may do that. I would think that they would wait, but I can't assume anything. So just thought we would present this so our folks can go ahead and plan what we have right now.
Right.
And if there is an adjustment, we'll make that adjustment and get the word out as soon as possible.
Okay. So I look for a motion to approve the first reading of the 2017-2018 calendar to be the traditional plus 2 spring days. For that to be our calendar for 2017 and 2018. Thank you, Ms. Tracy. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Thank you, Dr. So. All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carried.
We didn't discuss, but I want to say thank you so much for including teacher input. I think that's very valuable, and who does it affect more than students and parents? Teachers. So I'm glad we know what they think.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Dr. So. Kindergarten start date, also Mr. Steve?
Yes, ma'am. There's an adjustment that's taking place all across the state of Kentucky. At this point, and it has been for numerous years, when you start kindergarten, as long as you turn 5 on or before October 1st, you can attend kindergarten. This next school year, that date is moving from October the 1st to August the 1st. So unless you are 5 on or before August the 1st of 2017, that's the start date for kindergarten instead of October. So there's about a 2-month window that we're moving backwards on the age range that can attend. Okay, that is it's going to change. Obviously, it's about 2 months worth. I think there's approximately 30 some odd students at Thelma B right now that would affect, and we will be getting in contact with them. So really tonight what I wanted to do was share with you that, get that information to you so that you're aware of that. That's coming. Thelma B is going to work with student services on getting that information out, as well as we have one of our attendance specialists that's going to make sure she goes to church group meetings and any other daycares besides Thelma B in the area to ensure that all of them are aware. But that is a big difference. We think in the long run, some of the issues that we see that will help, maturity level will be greater. And a lot of our students that come in really late with late birthdays, I won't even say typically, some have issues, and others too wonderful. So to be honest, in the big scheme of things, we think that will help the maturity level and will only help us as we go forward. So that date is just an awareness date that'll be moving and changing, and we'll be working with our principals at elementary schools when they register students to kind of look for that, as well as all our daycares in the area. So.
Ms. Morgana, how is that going to affect, I'm sorry, Brad, how is that going to affect the extra students that we're going to have at Thelma B. Johnson on a continual basis? The additional children, is that going to affect our staffing levels in the future?
We will definitely look at staffing levels because you never really can tell incoming how many students will head towards Thelma B. And we always pink slip staff and then bring them back as classes are developed, both with teachers and instructional assistants at Thelma B. So we cover ourselves in the spring and then start to call back and bring back as the classes develop. Mm-hmm.
Just had two questions. Did you say August 1st?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I thought it was August 17th for some reason. I must have misthought.
It's a KRS, so it'll be,
gotcha.
It's pretty mandated.
Gotcha. What do we do when we have kids who are August 2nd? Or is that a hard cutoff, or do we have a procedure in place where
it's a hard cutoff? Now, if they choose to say, Mr. Dunner, I realize that's the cutoff, but I have a gifted kindergartner coming in, there's a process that they can go through. They'll appeal to the principal and say, hey, ours is August the 2nd. We feel like that's a valuable thing that they're ready for kindergarten. And then they would go to the principal. That principal would submit that information to Miss Joe and the academic group, and then they would test for GANTs and some other areas to determine the level at which that student performs currently. And then based on that level, they would be allowed to either enter, or we would suggest that they stay with the August 1st deadline. So.
Any other questions? Thank you. We appreciate that. Consent agenda is next on the new business list. Shortened school day for 2 special education students, approved student overnight trip request, 2017-2018 contract for non-resident pupils, a grant application, and retiring resolutions. Are there any consent agenda items that need to be pulled or discussed? Hearing none, I look for a motion to approve the consent agenda as listed. I'll make the, thank you, Brad. I'll second that. All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. This is the point that we have asked to add to our agenda a motion that Ms. Jennifer Keach would like to speak to.
This board has undertaken a media review with Ms. Stanley a little earlier, which was the reason for our delay in getting started this evening. And we feel like it's important to have it recorded in the minutes. So therefore, I make a motion for a vote of confidence reflecting performance that goes above and beyond in the scope of work as a school superintendent. Ms. Stanley is on track to complete the goals set out in all areas of leadership. We just wanted to have that reflected in the meeting minutes.
Thank you. Before I ask for a second and a vote on that, do I hear any comments or discussions? Dr. Sugg?
No, I think that states it very nicely. We're all really pleased in the direction the school system is going. We're very pleased with Ms. Stanley's performance as a superintendent. And we decided several months ago, we needed to tell her that and affirm her as well as give her feedback a little more often than once a year. So I'm glad we did it, and I concur totally.
Thank you. Mr. Brad?
I think the school system is very fortunate to have Morgana. Over the last 13 plus months, I've gotten to know her on a professional and a personal basis, and I can't say enough about the way that she manages, communicates, leads, and sets just a tremendous example for the rest of the school system to follow. I expect that the new board will find the same about her, and I would ask that they consider our vote of confidence tonight when considering Ms. Stanley's future contractual situations. Because we're an outgoing board, it would not be legal for us to affect her contract or salary. And so the vote of confidence tonight for me, I hope that they take a look at the fact of, of how we feel about it and consider that when they're considering Ms. Stanley in the future. So.
Thank you, Mr. Brad. Ms. Tracy?
I always try to look from a teacher perspective when I'm making decisions or comments. And one of the things that I have seen and noticed and have appreciated is the fact that Morgana is constantly out in our buildings and out in our community, making sure that there are multiple opportunities for people to speak with her. And I know our staff, from teachers, everyone, staff is very, very appreciative of that openness that she takes with our school system and our community. I mean, she's everywhere, which is, it's wonderful to be able to know that we can speak to her, and give opinions and just also to show how appreciative we are of the work that she does.
Thank you. Ms. Jennifer?
Yes. Lisa and I were the only two board members that are still on this board that were members of the board when we hired Morgana. And I was the sole dissenting vote on that board, not in her favor. And I am so excited to say that I was wrong. I really am. I'm very pleasantly, I'm not surprised now after the 3 years that you have led this district, and I think you're doing a fabulous job on so many levels. I can't really touch on anything else other than what my other board members have said here tonight, other than you are doing a fantastic job. Your willingness to be a real community, be very visible in the community and accept community partnerships and work and be visible speaks volumes. And it's great. So thank you.
I appreciate that. I will echo everything that the rest of this board has said. And like Jennifer said, I was on here when we first went through this, and we went through a lot of qualified candidates. There were over 40 candidates that applied for the position when Ms. Morgana applied here. And they were from far-reaching states, not just here locally. And we thought then that this was the right decision to choose someone locally whose heart was in Henderson County and whose heart was in it for Henderson kids. And like you said, almost 3 years later, we are glad we made that decision. And so I echo that. And I tell everybody all the time, you have no idea how many times as board members and as board chair, I have leaders of this community come up to me voluntarily and say, we are so happy that Ms. Stanley is our superintendent, and we are so happy with the way this school system is going. And that speaks volumes to us when our community backs up what our decision was. So is there anyone who would like to second Ms. Jennifer's motion? Well, there you go, Mr. Brad. Thank you. All in favor of approving the motion by Ms. Jennifer Keach and a vote of confidence for Ms. Morgana Stanley, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried.
Because they all know we have to work together tomorrow. Want me to bake more or something? It might be a little hard to talk right now, but the team that I work with obviously helps very much in making the job that we do, process it. The work could not be done without the team, and we're kind of a slim team tonight. Team also includes our principals as well. Somebody said, my heart truly is in Henderson and with the kids of Henderson, and that's the impact and the change and the difference in why we work every day and do what we do. And our mission is to provide extraordinary educational opportunities. We want everybody in this state to see that. Thank you all for the vote of confidence. I will work diligently not to compromise that or to let kids or the staff down. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Morgana. Thank you, staff, and board members. I appreciate you all doing that. Moving on to financial. Ms. Cindy Cloutier, Treasurer's report.
Treasurer's report for the month of November. We had total receipts of $32,627,027, with the majority of that being the bond sale of $17.8 million and tax receipts of $10 million. Total expenses of $6,950,349 for a net increase in all funds of $25,676,678. Any questions? It's my favorite month.
Madam Chair and members of the board, I request your approval of the Treasury's report presented to us tonight by Cindy Cloutier.
Any comments or questions? If nothing, I ask for a motion to approve the paid warrant report as listed. Treasurer's report, excuse me. Thank you, Dr. Sugg. Do I hear a second? Thank you, Ms. Jennifer. All in favor say aye. All opposed? Motion carried. Moving on to paid warrant report.
Paid warrant report covers the period of November 22nd through December the 19th. A few payments that I'll point out are Gordon Food Service for $162,314.51. Hazex Construction for Spotsville work, $154,989. Southwest Communications, $94,066.18. AA Services, $66,184.71. RBS Design, $44,296.53. Prairie Farms Dairy for milk, $41,926.98. Danco for construction, $39,778.29. PPMI Construction, $33,902.77. Tri-State Lighting for one of our gym lighting projects, $31,710.95. Henderson County Sheriff Department for tax collection fees, $30,853.72. And Codell Construction for construction management services at Spotsville, $29,339.92. Total paid warrants for this period, $2,535,730.65. Any questions on the paid warrant report?
Board members, anyone else have a question? I have one question. Cindy, is the payment to the tax collection commission, is that a percentage of the taxes that they collect? It's 2%. Is it paid the months after that they bring, because we've done this before with them. When they bring us the check, it's a percentage taken back out, so it's not a flat fee.
Write them a check.
It's not a flat fee for one-time thing, because we did this once before in one of the other months where we were collecting taxes.
And every check.
2% every check that they bring to us. Okay, thank you very much. That's all of it, Ms. Morgana.
Madam Chair, members of the board, I request your approval of the paid warrant report as presented to us tonight by Cindy Cloutier.
Board members, I look for a motion to approve the paid warrants as listed. Thank you, Ms. Tracy. I'll second that. All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. Be it noted that we have received personnel actions, and we are going into executive session I'll look for a motion to approve, to go into executive session pursuant to KRS 61.8101-F for discussions or hearing which might lead to discipline of students pursuant to KRS 61.811C for discussions of proposed or pending litigation. Do I hear a motion for that effect? Thank you, Ms. Tracy. Do I hear a second? Thank you, Dr. Sugg. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. We're in executive session. Thank you, ladies.